Hello, everyone. This is Tom, your host for the Hidden Truths channel. How's everybody doing this morning? Hope you're doing well. I hope you have a great day. But anyway, this morning's subject, we're going to talk about historical sign to release the files. Excuse me, why do we need legislation to go through Congress, the House of Representatives, and the Senate to release information on a crime that was committed? I mean, what the crime that was committed, public information. But we need an act of Congress now to release the Epstein files? And then what are we going to get? We ain't going to see, this is the thing, people. We ain't going to get nothing. This is going to be a dog and pony show. I mean, if they were to redact even one word, they'd be hiding something. So let's say they do release the true documents. It's all going to be redacted. Well, what's that prove? It just proves they're covering shit up. Okay, this is going to be a can they're going to try to kick down the road for the next 3 years. Remember how long it took Britain to get out of to do Brexit after years and years after they voted for it many times? It's going to be one of those situations. They're going to kick this down the road, come up with excuses and everything. Didn't Pam Bondi say that there was truckloads and the files were on her desk and stuff? Anyway, but we don't need an act of Congress to release it's information. That is public information. Okay? So anyway, all you people that are hoping that it's all going to go great, and, this is the thing, these elite, everybody that's more powerful than us and richer than us, like I say, the crimes that Epstein committed could only be his associates that helped or did whereas clients had to be extremely rich and powerful, because little people like you and me are not rich or powerful enough to commit such crimes. Not even close. Anyway, but I'm still waiting for some people to show up. We got to sit there and talk about why, through historical reasons, why you shouldn't trust the government. Okay. First example. Let's go back to World War I. May 7th, 1915. What happened on that day? Oh, yeah, the Lusitania sank. Torpedoed by a German U-boat. Okay? Why? They sat there and said Germany was this bad thing for doing that. And Germany had said, you help England and France in the war against us, all those ships are fair game. We can sit there and blow them out of the water. Okay? And, of course, Germany was claiming that there was ordnance on that ship. It sank in 18 minutes. Can't imagine there would be secondary explosions. But the U.S., everybody condemned, the Allies condemned Germany because they killed all these civilians and stuff by sinking the Lusitania. Germany was like, nah, you had armaments on that ship, and the U.S. was neutral. And back then, neutral meant you didn't support the other country. You may have gave them bandages like we first started with Ukraine, but you started giving them stuff that killed their soldiers. End of story. You were no more neutral in the enemy's eyes. That's why there's a precedent that's been set, right? That means that Russia can basically attack anybody that's militarily supporting Ukraine because they're no longer neutral. By the way, let's get back to 1915. So the word is, there was no contraband ordinance or anything, any material that could kill Germans on that ship, right? Never going to be found, right? Oh, in the day and age where we can dive wrecks and stuff, what did they find? Ordnance, artillery fuses. Okay, not the fuse you light with a damn match, all right? Fuses that, of course, stick a TNT and stuff, and God knows what else. No wonder why the Lusitania sank in 18 minutes. But anyway, the truth comes out. So Germany, not that it was vindicated, but this is, back then war was hell. Okay, but, there was, you support the other side, you were the enemy, and you got treated as such. Okay, but that was one lie. One lie where the U.S. tried to sit there, they were going to hide history, the way it really happened. The U.S. was supporting Britain and France before we entered the war in 1917 with military arms. And Germany wasn't going to have nothing of that. So our government lied about that. Pointed their finger and said, they're the bad guy, they're the bad guy. Now let's go into when elites lied and tried to change history of the way it really happened. And, for profit, you might, or to get their money back, you might say. Well, when was that? Well, that would have been in 1912, April 14th, when the Titanic went down. I remember, anybody ever remember that? Dick Cheney is here. Not even close. Anybody remember that movie, TV show back in the 70s called In Search of with Leonard Nimoy? Well, anyway, I watched that as a kid. And I remember the one that they did this on the sinking of the Titanic. And there was one girl on there, I think she was 9 years old or 6 years old, something like that. I think she was 9. And she lost her father and stuff, but her and her mother got off. And she sat there and swore that that ship broke in two. And she said this in the 70s. She says, I know that ship broke in two before it sank. Okay. But the word was, everybody was, it was, some people were, the people that were saying it broke in half and sank, they were the, the people that didn't invest in the Titanic. And you had people that, had an investment interest in Titanic or whatever, and they said it went down in one piece. Why? Why, you might ask? Because if it went down, if it broke apart, they wouldn't have got their insurance money on the Titanic. So it had to go down in one piece. Structurally sound, I guess, as good as it could be for them to get their insurance money. Change history, elites, so they get their goddamn money back. Told that woman when she was a little girl she was crazy. She's lying her whole life. I wasn't surprised. When I heard it was in two pieces, I'm like, I already know that. I heard that. Everybody's like, oh my God, it's in two pieces? No shit. If you listen to lie to us, and they've done it for many years. And it's not just subject to America or England or France. Germany. Should we go back to Germany? 1939, Hitler wants to start a war with Poland, but he don't want to look like the bad guy, right? He wants to look like they were attacked first. So what's he do? He sends some of his Abwehr dressed in Polish uniforms to sit there and take over a mock takeover of a German radio station, agree with the Nazis that they had killed, and dressed him up in a German uniform. Hitler said the victors will not be asked if they were truthful on how the war was started. God, it's just like these elite sons of a bitches. It don't matter where they're from. They all just think the damn same. Once they got their mindset on something, hey, the ends justifies the means, right? So what did that all lead to? Well, that led to Hitler feeling he had the propagandist excuse to take over Poland, which, created a European war when Germany and France declared war or Britain and France declared war on Germany. And then at the end of 1941, became a world war when we declared war on Japan and Germany declared war on us. It was a world war. Okay, that's nothing that hasn't been proven yet. Okay, he knew. But, they needed us in the war. Was it a good thing or bad thing? Europe would look a lot different now if we went to enter World War II. See, I'm not trying to justify him knowing it and letting them attack Pearl Harbor. And then all our ancient battleships our old battleships were important. All our good new ships were out at sea. But Anyway, the U.S. had to enter World War II. They had to get the public behind it. I mean, our Rosie the Riveter is what won World War II. Okay? To production we put out. When we could produce more planes in 1 year in one plant than Germany did the whole war. Okay, and that was a two-front war, right? And it's like only 15% of the supplies went to the Pacific and the rest of them went to Europe. Now imagine trying to fight a war like that these days. Ain't never gonna happen, people. Ain't never gonna happen. So anyway, Lusitania, the Titanic, Hitler's invasion of Poland, okay? Now, what's Gulf of Tonkin? Get us into Vietnam. Came out that was fictitious. Lied. But what's the most recent one? Okay, I'm not going to stay on here that long. YouTube's kind of cut me down and stuff. This is what they do. I tell you what, you sit there and speak any type of truth these days, you're silenced. I can't even imagine what it'd be like for a teacher who's trying to teach their kids facts when they get silenced because they got to be politically correct. One thing about Walter Cronkite back in their first Gulf War, he blamed the press for the war because they didn't report on what was going on before the war. All these people want to do is hide shit. I may not have a lot of people watching me, but I guarantee you here, Google's in here every day. Every day! Because if the wrong person comes to my feed, listens to what I have to say, and becomes our next George Washington because of it, they can't have that. Every tyrant knows they have to silence the opposition as best they can, or make it seem like they don't know what they're talking about, okay? And this is just one platform, social media platform that's like this. They want to, you talk about the elites and the politicians all in cahoots. As a content creator on social media, you can see it in your analytics, big time, with the old AI algorithm in charge. Anyway, let's get to the modern one. What's the most recent one where the government lied to get us into a war? And I'm not talking 9/11, okay? That's still a conspiracy theory. Like I say, I want to talk about stuff that we factually know. Weapons of mass destruction. Yep, your weapons of mass destruction, Bush. That was fictitious, a lie, made up on purpose to sell the war to the American public. I remember back then, a lot of people wanted to go to war with Iraq. They used the propaganda to fool the American people on a lie. And then, then he landed on that carrier. George Bush landed on that carrier. Said the war is over. Hell, it just got started. And, aren't we still there? That was 22 years ago. I think we still have bases in Iraq, don't we? That's nothing. Why do we got to be all over the world just pissing people off? But yeah, George W. Bush and his little lie about weapons of mass destruction. And yet, he don't go to jail. He's not responsible for all the deaths of the service members during that war and what's still continuing to go on. And I believe since Saddam Hussein wasn't guilty of what they said he was guilty of, and then maybe should be charged with, accessory to murder. Nobody likes Saddam Hussein, but he died a horrible death. Didn't George W. Bush have his golden 45, 1911 45, I think is what he got Saddam Hussein when they found him in a hole. That's what he had. Doesn't Donald Trump have that now? You know, as a service member, you're not allowed to take trophies. But I guess if you're the president, you are. All I know is I'm sick and tired of, these people. You got to believe the government. The government said it. It's the truth. Yeah, bullshit. I mean, Trump says that inflation's down and grocery prices are great. You feel that? Trump says every American's doing great. If every American's doing so great right now, Trump, why do you got to give everybody a $2,000 stimulus check if everything's going so great? Some of these people that Americans owe bill to, like credit card companies, they need a little boost because they're losing money. So you give a little stimulus to people so they go spending and pay off some bills. Is that what you need it for? Lies, lies, lies. Then you come on here and want to do a little truth and they shut you down. Like I say, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and Bill Gates, and Donald Trump, and old Jeffrey Epstein, who still may be alive on some beach right now just laughing at what's going on. They're all in one big club, buddy. Didn't Mark Zuckerberg give $1 million to Trump's inauguration? $1 million. And he says, see, money means nothing to these people. What kind of party could you throw for $1 million? And that was just a drop in the bucket for that party. He wants to give Americans, I'm going to give you a $2,000 rebate. He spends more than that on dinner. They can't associate with us. They keep their frickin' money and stuff it up their ass. Why do I need to sit there and pay all this, $500-600 a month in taxes to get 1 cent back of my taxes? You want to help Americans out, stop taking the taxes. By the way, those are just a few examples of proven facts since 1912 where the elites and the politicians have lied to try to make history different. History is written by the victors, all right? Nazi Germany banned. Now, I'm not supporting Nazi Germany. I just want to do a comparison to you, okay? When the U.S. and the Allies, a comparison, okay? Hitler banned 4,000 books, about 4,000 books. And what were the books that he was banning? A lot of Jewish books, yeah, on transgender, homosexuality, stuff against. The books Hitler banned were the same books you parents would go into these school libraries right now, take and put in a pile in the school lawn and burn yourself. Those are the books Hitler burnt. And then stuff on communism. Which, back when I was growing up, there were no books on communism in our school library. Okay? So he banned about 4,000 books. And when the Allies took over Germany, they banned 30,000. 30,000. Now, see, everybody should be exposed to whatever material's out there. That sounds wrong. Okay, hiding somebody from information, I don't believe in book burning that. But if you bring your kids up right with common sense, anybody's going to look at that stuff and say, that stuff is ridiculous. And they look down at that people like a lot of people in this country did when they tried pushing this LGBTQA shit on us. We said, we're never going to accept it. We're not forced to accept it here. Who's burning books? We're not burning books no more. What are we doing? Using the new modern way of book burning is through electronics, through silencing people, using algorithms and stuff. Okay? But, The thing is, you should be able to judge the information. Like, do you believe in Darwinism, his theory, or do you believe in creation? Okay, if you're religious, you believe in creation. If you're not atheist, you probably believe that we came from apes. And all I got to say about that, if that's true, then how come there ain't ape-like humans still walking out of the jungle that have evolved and still turn into humans, right? Wouldn't that still happen if Darwinism was correct? I'm just saying. Why would it all of a sudden stop? I mean, we would only be raising our young. We'd have new generations of human beings coming out of the jungle. You know, this is what happens when you're not allowed to debate a stupid idea. When other opinions are shut up. Darwinism is actually taught us something that could actually happen. Okay, yeah, that would be epic. That would be. Hey, anybody in Hollywood listening? That'd be a great movie. Where all of a sudden a new form of human being starts walking out of the jungle that evolved from apes. See, you know, people to believe in creation, you gotta have faith. I have faith. I have faith in God. I have faith in myself. I have faith in the ability He's given me. Okay, and I'm not going to be brought down by somebody that's full of evil and the devil is trying to silence me on here. Like I told YouTube many times, I'm not going away. This is the battle of good against evil, and I'm not evil, and I'm not going to ride the train out thinking, oh, it'll be better tomorrow. Everybody who keeps thinking that, it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So there's too much stuff going on right now. Like I say, I'm not on here to make me famous. Hopefully I can inspire the right person that's got the charisma and the morals and stuff to be the next George Washington. Like I heard Nick Fuentes, I think it was him saying, we already got, like I say, you got 20% on the right that mega in charge, who's in charge of that. And then on the left, who's ever in charge of that cabal, and you got the 60% of us in the middle. And the 60% of us in the middle are the ones that need that person. Ain't going to be a politician either. Ain't going to be a politician. It ain't going to be a rich guy. It's going to be some guy who comes out of the field. Circumstances, destiny is going to come to some person's life that's going to have the moral fortitude and be good with the Lord, to do the Lord's work and save us, to lead us, not save us. See, this is to bring us all together under one flag, like we are the United States, under one umbrella. That's what we need. It's not like we ain't got the motivation. I mean, like you say, when I'm hearing the millennials and stuff, the ones that are between 20 and 30, trying to make it now, making $5,000, $6,000 a month and still can't make it. I can't even imagine that. They're pissed. They're not going to work their rest of their lives for 70 years like this. They're just looking for somebody that strong figure. Where's he going to come from? I don't know. But, we're going to have to endure more because, not everybody's ready for it like I am. I'm a jarhead. I've seen this shit. What I've seen overseas is now coming here. Thank God I dealt with it over there because I know how to deal with it over here. But, I'm just kind of silently sitting here waiting, being on YouTube, trying to sit there and bring people together. Hey, our government's a lying bunch of damn assholes. I mean, they're spraying chemicals in the air, chemtrails. And you got these guys, I work for the airlines. They're dropping fuel. Really? They're dropping fuel for 400 miles when they're still 400 miles from an airport? And then what happens to all that? If all those chemtrails are dropping fuel, boy, I thought it was illegal to pour gasoline on the ground. Lies, lies, lies. I still like to know the real reason why they do it. There's probably a couple reasons. But this is just, this is nothing. If Americans, by the Constitution, it says that all Americans, Congress has to release to us on how they spend our taxes. Okay? It says it in the Constitution. So if they were paying for this spraying and we got to see the receipts for the money they paid for this shit, we'd see what they were spraying. And then we'd stop it and say, to hell with that. Like I say, $38 trillion in debt. And they say follow the money trail to see the crime. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of money trails that lead to a lot of crimes. Yeah, it says that in the Constitution. They're supposed to, all that information Doge had, and they probably weren't even privy to a lot of it. Every American the Congress is required to give it to us. Nope, nothing. You know, you want to trust the government, they're going to take you into hell. They don't care. All our politicians hate us. Whether they're Democrat or Republican, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, somebody who don't deal with politics, they hate all Americans. No matter what your color is, what your religion is, what your nationality is, they don't like you. They don't like me. You're in the way of them in their master plan, whatever the hell the son of a bitch is. I mean, is the plan to get us down to 500 million people on the planet with AI and just have a bunch of slaves for these elites? I don't know. But then again, when I watched the Terminator in the early 80s, I didn't think that was ever going to be possible. And here we are. Here we are. So, Mama said I was a smart man. Do you pay taxes on your YouTube? I don't get monetized on YouTube, people. I don't get monetized. YouTube, see, this is the thing with YouTube. Let me go into it. I got my analytics, and they're on different pages. One page says I have enough hours to be monetized. In one page, my monetization page, and I'll get message from YouTube saying that I got over so many thousands of hours of view time. But my pay page is thousands of hours different below. Okay, YouTube, I doubt if I'll ever get monetized on YouTube. But the thing is, I could sit there and I want to get paid through the commercials. I don't want to have to sit there and charge people to listen to me. Okay? I don't want to sit there. I'm not going to sell stuff. I'm so tired of YouTube channels that I like listening to sound like a damn infomercial sometimes. We got shit coming down. You need to get the information out of there. I got a job. I don't need to make money on YouTube. I own a tree business. Actually, for the next few days, I got a couple tree jobs I got to do. Okay? But if I ever do get to making money on YouTube, all the money's going to be going into my channel to get the word out. You know, living a free life for me with empty pockets is a lot more appealing to me than having digital currency credits in my bank account that I can't spend. I'm a poor, humble man. You know, it just seems like sometimes, anyway, I do just fine. Okay? Like I say, I got to go cut trees all day today. But I get up here at 6 o'clock Mountain Time in the morning, I'm up here so I can sit there and pass the word on. Like I say, there's proven historical reasons why not to trust the government, where they were caught in lies and never held responsible. The Lusitania put armaments on that ship after Germany said no way. And 1,190 people died. Sank in 18 minutes. I can't imagine secondary explosions. The only ship that sank faster than that, well, there were a couple. The Hood, 128 Americans. A lot of change history. Okay? All these conspiracy theories, there's a reason for it. Building 7 at 9/11 just collapsed. And, if you get on here and try to sit there and debunk, the narrative, you get silenced. If I was on here putting makeup on while I'm fucking shoving McDonald's down my throat, trying to get unhealthy, and telling how great the governments are, and I believe in war here and every there, my channel would be crazy time. I mean, for an example, there's a guy I follow. He's only had 126 videos, almost 45,000 subscribers. I've got 1,300 videos, maybe 1,400 with my live, and a little over 1,300 subscribers. And it's like, I tell you what, this AI, it's a bad thing. Us content creators realize how bad it messes with people. And when the average person gets to deal with AI messing with their lives, and you have bipedal armed robots walking around and stuff, your content sucks. That's why, not AI. Okay, whatever. You want to look at when I get all of a sudden, I get 108,000 views and 200 subscribers in 1 week. No, was it almost 300 subscribers in that 1 week? And then the next week it drops down to, 8,000 views. The thing is, my channel does keep growing. And this is the thing, these people get on and says like, Joel, my content sucks. Well, get the fuck off my channel. This isn't a communist channel. You aren't forced to listen to it. Anybody who comes on my channel, instead of just clicking off and they got to write a bad comment, I know they like my channel. Okay? I know they think it's a good channel. Maybe there's something they don't agree with, but something they don't want to hear either. But this is the games that are played. And the truth is all going to come out, okay? Eventually. When we take our country back. Anyway, you love comedy. I tell you what, I do start making money on YouTube where I can start putting some away. I would like to start a comedic skit show, kind of like the Red Green Show, if you ever seen that, Possum Lodge and stuff. It was on Canadian PB. Anyway, I like to start something. I would like to make people laugh on this. But you know what? We got a world of hurt to go through first. Anyway, that's all I got for today. I'm going to get out of here. Sun's coming up. Spend a little time got to do chores, feed the horses and stuff, and then I got to take off and cut some trees today. So anyway, everybody have a great day. And if you're here, check out the rest of my content. You might like it, and you may not like it, whatever, and share it out. So anyway, appreciate everybody being here, and I'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock Mountain Time. Anyway, everybody have a great day. This is Tom with Hidden Truths. I'm out of here.